The required equipment for suppositories will be medium weigh boats, 2 100 ml glass beakers, a stirring rod, a small spatula, a stainless steel sieve, an aluminum suppository mold, a suppository box, a magnetic stir bar, and your hot plate. You need to prepare your aluminum suppository mold. You need to first ensure that it is clean and dry. Remove the wing nuts. And break the mold in half. You can use soap and water and clean the suppository mold, and be sure it's rinsed with purified water and dried thoroughly. After both sides are clean and dry, reassemble the suppository mold and firmly and tightly reattach the wing nuts. I now need to retrieve our zinc oxide from the supply stations. And just some amount, because what you're going to do is sift excess zinc oxide and then weigh the sifted zinc oxide. So we will now transfer our zinc oxide into our sieve, and using a small spatula, sift into the medium weigh boat. When you have the amount of excess zinc oxide, you're now ready to weigh the required amount of zinc oxide. Put a clean, empty medium weigh boat on your scale, tear the scale, and now you're ready to weigh the required amount. Weigh the required amount of polybase that you need for this procedure directly into the glass beakers. So in beaker 1, we want approximately 50% of our total weight of 10 suppositories, and in beaker 2 we will weigh excess. So place beaker 1 on your scale and tear the scale. Place approximately 12 grams of polybase into that beaker. Record this weight in your compounding record. Again, place beaker 2, which will be your excess polybase, onto the scale, tear the scale, and weigh approximately 30 grams of polybase. Continue adding until you have approximately 30 grams and record this weight in your compounding record. You now have both your beakers ready to go. Remember, beaker 1 has approximately 12 grams of polybase and beaker 2 has the excess 30 grams. You are now ready to microwave those for 30 seconds. Remember to remove the beakers holding the top of the beaker so as not to burn your fingers. Before returning to your station, go ahead and add 1 drop of food coloring to the beaker 1 containing the 12 grams of polybase. This is for lab purposes only, so you can visualize where the drug is located. Now, prepare your hot plate to the desired temperature. Place the stir bar into beaker 1 and place it in the center of the hot plate and turn the stir mechanism to medium. The second beaker, go ahead and set to the back just to keep it warm. All right, transfer the final required amount of zinc oxide into the sieve, being sure the excess falls into a clean weigh boat, and we will add that in a final step. Now gently take the sieve and quickly sift in the powder, letting it stir in between additions. You want to quickly do this ensuring that all the zinc oxide is added to beaker 1. The last step, take what is left in the weigh boat that dropped out and transfer it to the beaker. Turn the stir mechanism off and remove beaker 1. Gently swirl your beaker if there's any powder remaining on the stir bar. And now you're ready to remove the stir bar. You can use a metal spatula, which will adhere to the stir bar. All right, go ahead and use your glass stir rod to make sure that the suppository base and the zinc oxide are uniform. And now we want to quickly pour this into 10 molds. We do not need to be exact at this stage, so just pour some amount into the 10 molds, and the quicker the better. Remember, this suppository mold has 12. Do not pour anything into the last 2 molds. When no more will come out, go ahead and take your plain base, and what we want to do is rinse this beaker as thoroughly as possible. So pouring small amounts of the hot plain base into our beaker, and go ahead and stir that and continue to fill the 10 suppository. They do not need to be equal at this stage. We just want to transfer all the drug into the 10 suppository molds. Do at least 2 or 3 rinsings, pouring this excess rinsings into the molds. Never pouring any one mold over the top. So always have the drug below the fill line at the top. Continue rinsing until your beaker virtually has no drug left in the beaker. You can visualize this by the pink color. It should get lighter and lighter with each rinsing. When you're satisfied that you have transferred the drug from the beaker, then take the excess base and overfill all the cavities of the 10 suppositories. You want excess coming out on the top. You will trim off the excess suppository base in the next step. You now let those cool till they're set up. You now need to go ahead, turn your hot plate back on, and heat a spatula. The heated spatula will enable you to trim and also to melt any of the excess base that comes off the top of the molds so that you can fill divots at this stage. So once the spatula is hot, be sure your spatula is clean and dry. You don't want to transfer any of the base to your hot plate. So once it's warm, go ahead and use it to trim. The excess. While you're trimming, it's melting some of that base and filling any of the divots. Okay, if the divots have all been filled, then you're now ready to unmold your suppositories. All right, we're now ready to weigh our 10 suppositories. So go ahead and put a medium weigh boat on your scale and tare it. And go ahead, remove the wing nuts from your mold. And carefully break open the suppository mold. So you can tell my suppositories, anywhere there's pink, it is drug. The darker the pink color, the more concentrated the fill was. So now I have 10 suppositories that have our entire amount of zinc oxide. Transfer those, pushing them out of the mold into your weigh boat. And weigh the suppositories. You need to transfer the 10 suppositories into a clean 100 ml glass beaker. And we're now ready to microwave this beaker for 20 seconds at high power. Microwave the beaker of 10 suppositories for 20 seconds. Carefully remove the beaker, being sure to hold it at the top. Use your stir rod to stir the poly base with the zinc oxide until it's comfortable to the touch with your hands. This may take several minutes to cool just briefly. Continue to stir, and when it's cool to the touch, go ahead and pour as many suppositories as you can, overfilling each suppository. So we'll stir, and now we're ready to pour. Once you've poured your last one, go ahead and overfill any last using the last. Go ahead and turn your hot plate on again and place your spatula until it's warm enough to trim your suppositories. Remember that you want your spatula clean and dry before putting it on the hot plate. Once it's warm, go ahead and trim your suppositories, your finished suppositories, and fill any divots. As you go. You can use the melted base to fill any divots from the Go ahead and get a clean medium weigh boat, tare your scale, and now we're ready to unmold and weigh our finished product. So again, remove the wing nuts. And unmold the suppositories. You want to take your best 6. So. Any excess, dispose of properly, and weigh your 6 suppositories. Record the average weight of the suppository in your compounding record. All right, take your completed suppositories and place them in the divided suppository box. And place the top on the suppository box.